Shalom. I just want to start off by saying, Call Halayim La Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Kakadash. I want to give them honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, peace and salutations to a full elect, and the Occupants spreading the truth throughout the four corners of the earth. My name is Hasha Allah. And today I just want to talk about Deuteronomy 23 and 7. Let's go straight to it. So it's Deuteronomy 23 and verse 7, and it says, Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou was a stranger in his land. Now, when you go into, people like to use this scripture to say we shouldn't hate Edomites, and that's not what this scripture means, because when you go into the word abhor, it means to avoid, And then when you go into the blue letter, you would see that this word Edomite is not supposed to be there. It's a clerical error, So let's go down to the Strong's definition. It says patronymic from H123 CH726, And the KJV translates Strong's in the following manner, and it says Syrian here. So let's go to H726. And this says the root word is a clerical error for H130. And when we go back to H130, it's Edomite, So going back to H726, the outline of biblical usage is Aramite, a Syrian. So going on to the Strong's definition, it says a clerical error for H130, which is Edomite, and Edomite, as in the margins, Syrian. So that word Edomite is not supposed to be there. The word that's supposed to be there is Syrian, So going back and reading this, it says, Thou shalt not abhor an Syrian, for he is thine brother. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou wast a stranger in his land. Now we know the second part, because we dwelt in Egypt. We became a great nation in Egypt, and we was in captivity in Egypt, So it says, Thou shalt not avoid an Egyptian, because thou was a stranger in his land. Now, the top part is what I'm focusing on. Thou shalt not abhor an Syrian. We should not avoid an Syrian, for he is thy brother. And so let's go into some precepts that show why we wasn't supposed to avoid the Syrians. So I can excuse me. This is Genesis 24. I'm just starting at verse 1. And Abraham was old and well stricken in age, and the Lord Yahweh Shem Shai had blessed Abraham in all things. And Abraham said unto his eldest servant of his house that ruled over all that he had, Put, I pray thee, thy hand under my thigh, and I will make thee swear by the Lord Yahweh Shem Shai, power of heaven and the power of earth, that thou shalt not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I dwell, but thou shalt go unto my country and to my kindred, and take a wife unto my son Isaac. So this is Abraham making his servant, swear unto him to not give him, to not look for, not to set him up with the daughters of the Canaanites, but to go back, but to go onto his country, onto his kindred, and take a wife for his son Isaac, So we're going to go back, we're going to go to Genesis 11 to see whose Abraham's kindred is, and ultimately see where his country was, or where his kindred dwelt. And I'm gonna just get straight to the point. This is Genesis 11 and verse 24. And Nahor lived 29 years and begot Terah. And Nahor lived after he begot Terah 119 years and begot sons and daughters. And Terah lived 70 years and begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Now these are the generations of Terah. Terah begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran begot Lot. And Haran died before his father in the land of his nativity in Ur of the Chaldees. And Abram and Nahor took them wives. The name of Abraham's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, and the father of Iscah. But Sarai was barren; she had no children. And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot, the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarai, his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they went from with them from Ur of the Chaldees to the land of Canaan, and they came unto Haran and dwelt there. And the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. So Abraham's family got up and left out of Ur of the Chaldees, and on the way to the land of Canaan, they stopped in Haran. They stopped at Haran, and when you look up Haran, it says Haran is referred to as Padanaram, and Padanaram is a region in Syria, So that's where Abraham's kindred, that's where Abraham's family dwelt. They dwelt in Syria, known as Syrians. So going back to this Genesis 24:4, it says, "But thou shalt go unto my country and to my kindred, and take a wife unto my son Isaac." So from there, from there, let's go to the next chapter. Let's see. Let's go to the next chapter, and let's start at verse 19. Genesis 25:19. And these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begot Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel the Syrian of Padanaram, the sister of Laban the Syrian. So when Isaac, got his wife, his wife was a Syrian. It says that she was the daughter of Bethuel the Syrian of Padanaram, the sister of Laban the Syrian. And so it was the same custom when Isaac had, charged Jacob to not take a wife of the Canaanites, but instead go to Padanaram and get him a wife. We can grab that in Genesis 28. Genesis 28 and verse 1, it says, "And Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said unto him, Thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan, Arise, go to Padanaram, to the house of Bethuel, thy mother's father, and take thee a wife from thence of the daughters of Laban, thy mother's brother. You know, so and Jacob did the same thing. You know, let's see. Verse 5, and Isaac sent Jacob away, and he went to Padanaram unto Laban, son of Bethuel the Syrian, the brother of Rebekah, Jacob and Esau's mother. You know, so we're going to jump over some more. And let's see here. Let's just get straight to the point. Down to verse 14. Actually, let me just start at verse 13. And it came to pass when Laban heard the tidings of Jacob, his sister's son, that he ran to meet him and embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his house. And he told Laban all these things. And Laban said unto him, surely thou art my bone and my flesh. And he abode with him the space of a month. You know, so Laban is letting him know, like, you you are my kindred. You know, you are my flesh. You are my bone. You are my flesh. You know, we're family. You know. And, it's going to go into it how, Jacob, got in his situation where he got the daughters of Laban. But I want to go to, from there, and I want to go to Deuteronomy 26. And, let me start at verse 5, and it says, and thou shalt speak and say before the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushai, that power, a Syrian ready to perish was my father, and he went down into Egypt and sojourned there with a few, and became there a great nation, and became there a nation great, mighty, and populous, you know. But who is he talking about where it says a Syrian ready to perish? It's just talking about Jacob, you know, because the time that Jacob dwelt in the land of Syria, trying to get Rachel, you know, but end up getting Leah first, and then having to stay for Rachel, and then having to stay to get his cattle, you know, was a span of 20 years, you know, seven, and I believe 6 for his cattle. Let's see. But yeah, the span that Jacob dwelt amongst them, you know, he became known as a Syrian, as a Syrian. You know, that's why it says it here in Deuteronomy 26 and 5. You know, so going back to this Deuteronomy 23 and 7, you know, that word there is supposed to be an Syrian, not an Edomite, you know. And you know, it just broke down the precepts of why we shouldn't have, why it says thou shalt not abhor an Syrian. Why? Because those Syrians are distant relatives. You know, they come from they all come from Terah, you know, Abraham's father, you know. That's why we weren't supposed to avoid them. So hopefully that was edifying. I just want to end off by saying, Call Halayim La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Kakadash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to a full leg. And I can spread His truth throughout the four corners of this earth. Shalom.